actually talked about this briefly on a different podcast, just like what is the pairing? You know, you kind of, what is the pairing to beat them? And I think we actually came up, Rob Nunnery and myself, with Dylan and Riley, or of course possibly Jack Sock and Riley, but that would probably be more next year. So also, James, I would say that right now there's probably a big three in terms of those teams with Matt and Riley, the kids, JW and Dylan. What would you say you would need to do with Tyson McGuffin? Or actually, we've seen Pablo and Federico have some nice runs here. You guys kind of on those teams on the bubble. What would you need to do to step into that mix with those three teams?
So we've got Adam Stone on the podcast, the best commentator in the game. I've said it many times. Other people have said it. I'm not going to say he has the best podcast in the game, but he's the best commentator in the game. And he's on. We got him on for a second time. So thank you for coming on, Adam.
Yeah, James, no, happy to be here. And this is, the first time I was definitely a guest. I think we're going to go with a little bit more of a co-host here today. So I recently signed with Selkirk, as you are already a member of the team. So maybe when you can't get a guest, or it's been a while, maybe I'll sneak on and help you out and talk about all the comings and goings in the pickleball world. Pretty exciting.
Definitely. If I ever need somebody to just carry my podcast, you're going to be the first person I call. All right, so let's get into it. We had the Texas Open, hottest tournament I've ever been to in my life. I actually had a heat stroke in men's doubles. First time I've ever had a heat stroke. So that was bad. But let's talk about men's singles. This guy, Jaime, Martinez, Vich, got to the finals. I've had the opportunity to be around him. He's a really funny guy, great personality. He's only about 5'2", maybe 5'3", but he's out there balling. So I don't know if you got to see any of him play or your thoughts on that.
Oh, no, absolutely. He seems like he's a real showman too. I think the fans really enjoyed watching him play. He is, if he's 5'2", then I'm 5 foot flat. No, I do think he is about 5'8", but man, he is quick around the court. So I actually got to talk to Ben after the singles match, and he mentioned he is very Federico-esque in a lot of aspects with the foot speed and some of the big ground strokes. So it was really cool to see him jump in the mix and be in that championship Sunday. And I didn't realize it, but he had a very quality tennis background, and I think we'll see more of Jaume moving forward.
Yeah, I actually played him. Me and Tyson played him first round in men's dubs also, and he's got pretty good hands. He's got he's still got a ton of stuff to figure out, and I was the same way, but I think he's pretty solid. He could be good at doubles too. Women's singles, that was crazy. So it was pretty much chalk, Anna Lee and Leia in the finals, and then Leia actually had match points, and then there was before the match points, I think this was in the middle of the second game, there was a sideline interview. And this is the first time I've ever seen a sideline interview in a pickleball match. I wasn't sure what was going on. Maybe it was because Anna Lee was losing for the first time ever. Do you know what was going on there? Why there was a sideline interview, and maybe your thoughts on the interview itself? Because I have some.
Yes, so I think it certainly doesn't happen a lot, but it will occasionally happen. I know when I've done some commentary with MLP, we sent it down courtside with Cameron Blackwood a couple of times. So I think it was probably just a really juicy match. And of course, you have, Lee with the ACL issue going to kind of a full-on coaching role. So I think that maybe it was not unusual, but it doesn't happen too often. And the interview was maybe not spicy, but there was definitely some comments that could have been worded slightly differently. Of course, I don't know what was going on in Lee's head, but it was a bit of kind of not giving a lot of credit to the opponent, and kind of talking about some of the equipment and some of the situation with Leia. She clearly had a new strategy. She has been working on her fitness the last couple of weeks. So I do think that there was reason to believe that it was a different player, not just from an equipment standpoint, but from a strategy and on-court standpoint. What did you think of the interview, James?
Well, I've got no they're both on my MLP team, and
Hmm.
neither of them watch my podcast. So I've got no dog in this race.
Right, right.
I know Leia's working really hard. It's unfortunate that Leia lost. I was rooting for Leia to win. I thought it would have been great if she did win. But I think Lee is also really competitive. Being on the
Hmm.
same MLP team, she's a great coach, by the way. I think she's very valuable on the sideline. And somebody like that who's so used to winning, if things aren't going their way, then it's going to be it's not easy to deal with. And I've never won that much, so I don't really know the excuses I would come up with if I was
Don't
Lee.
look at me. I don't know
Yeah.
either. So, but yeah, no, I agree with pretty much what you said there, James. And it was just the fact that Annalee's been so dominant. So for her to just dominate and then get in a situation that's a little dicey where it's a tight match, uh, for all that dominance to not give a little love to the opponent, I definitely think was probably a poor choice of words. But who knows exactly what was going on in Lee's mind when she was saying that. But as a team member of the New Jersey Fives, do you think this might have some residual effects or possibly affect a little team chemistry for MLP?
I don't think so, because I think we've all, like, as far as like teams are concerned and like terms of like tight knit chemistry wise, I
Hmm.
don't think we're top 5 in those rankings. We haven't ever really been. I mean, I think Annalie and Lee are great. I think Leia's great. I think Hayden's great, but like we're not, Anna's on the Hustlers, right? And they're hanging out after the matches.
Right.
They're like friends off the court. Like we're kind of more just, we're all business. And that doesn't mean that I think they're all great. I mean, Ryan in particular is great, our owner, Gary V, but I don't think it's going to be a problem. I don't think it'll affect anything. I do think though that it's funny that this came out the day before the Perseus was released. It's like the best advertising I could have possibly
Right.
had. But that's okay, guys, because I use the 006 and it's got 4 times the pop, 5 times the spin.
6 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, the memes were out in full force about the Yola and how they were just loving all the publicity and everything. So it is pretty funny. And
Yeah.
yeah, I totally agree with you, James. I think there's a lot of teams that do have differences. A little more tight knit, some more business, inside the lines, and some hang out a little bit more outside the lines. So it is interesting the team dynamics and some of the players. But I would guess also that with that 2 week buffer, you guys are going to be just fine when it comes to game time for MLP. And also Leia choosing not to play singles this weekend just so they don't have another epic match right before MLP, I think makes a little bit of sense too.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, Hayden's 17, Anna Lee is 16. Like we're not really, it's just a different dynamic, right? It's
Sure. Yeah. No,
yeah.
totally. Makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I'll tell you what, that was an epic match. And rarely on these tournament recaps, James, are we talking heavily about both singles events. And that's exactly what we've been doing so far. So, I'm a doubles guy. I prefer the doubles, but the singles entertainment level was pretty high level this weekend. So it was good to see.
Yeah. So in mixed, so me and Anna got bronze. We had a good tournament. We pretty much rolled through everybody who wasn't Annalie and Ben. Had some pretty decisive wins outside of that, and then decisively lost to Annalie and Ben, which is fine.
Hmm.
And then in the bronze, my paddle got challenged by Federico.
Oh, I didn't know
So
that. Oh, fun fact. Okay, cool.
yeah, yeah. So we were actually up 8-2 in the bronze, and then I hit like a ball. Really, you know me. Like if I really connect on the ball with the 002, it comes off pretty hot. And I think I might have hit Federico with the ball. Maybe it was on purpose, maybe not. I don't remember, but I definitely didn't try not to hit him. And it's 8-2, I hit him, whatever. And then he's like, challenge the paddle. He dropped his paddle. He's like, I'm challenging it right then and there. It was like He made a scene. We had to stop for like 2 or 3 minutes because he challenged the paddle. And next thing you know, we win the match 4-8, and it came back as green. So it wasn't even close to failing. And I knew that was going to be the case because if a paddle delaminates, you can feel it, you can hear it. Pros know when their paddle delaminates. I don't care what anybody says, and I wouldn't use a delaminated paddle because if I used a delaminated paddle, it'd be a safety hazard. This isn't Sarah Ansbury using the delaminated paddle. I'm not Sarah Ansbury. I'm going to hurt people.
Yeah, yes, I agree, James.
So basically, it passed, and it's no hard feelings with Federico. I just wanted to get that out there because it's good to know that players are becoming more confident challenging paddles. You got to challenge the paddle if you think it's suspicious. You can't be like there can't be like a stigma like, oh, this person might be using one, might not. Just challenge it and get it out of the way. So what are your thoughts on, the whole paddle challenge thing and just making sure that players are comfortable with that?
Right. No, I think this is something that they've put in place. They have a rule about it. So I think you're correct in that there shouldn't be a stigma or anything bad that comes out of challenging. This is the rule that's in place. So maybe if every other match one particular person is challenging paddles constantly, that gets a little dicey. But if it's not happening all the time, these players should have free reign to do so. And this is the situation that we're in. So I am okay with it, and I don't think it's a problem at all, even though some of the keyboard warriors and social media people have kind of given a bad rap to some people that have challenged paddles or saying bad sportsmanship or whatever. I don't see it that way, so I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I completely agree. So yeah, I mean, it was outside of that. I mean, it was a good overall day. Ben and Annalie is so tough to attack, and but we'll see. We tried to put me on the right a little bit, a little Adam Stone action. Put me on the right, see what happens. And it didn't work, but we're getting back to the drawing board there. So, but yeah, men's doubles.
That's right. So we actually had. Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, James, we actually had a pretty funny interaction in the men's bathroom on men's doubles day where you had mentioned that heat stroke. Do you think that it was all because of men's day, or possibly a little leak carryover from that long mixed day that you had for the weather?
I think it's both, and I also played singles, right? And I had a really tough match with JW, and it was that, and also I didn't really take my fitness seriously enough, knowing that Texas would be so tough. I didn't think it was going to be that hot. I thought if you train in Florida, you're fine if you go anywhere else, and that's not true because I was basically me and Tyson had like a easy first match, relatively quick second match, and then third round we go out there against Dylan and JW, and there were some long grindy points, a lot of middle dinks, a lot of just dink it to JW, and he's just gonna he's gonna keep you right there in the point. And meanwhile, I'm at the kitchen line jumping rope, basically, like I'm just bouncing up and down, and that's a whole nother problem. I got to stop doing that so much. But yeah, I started to shake. I started to feel my hands like start to shiver, and I start to get like ice cold. And I started to, my heart was beating really fast, and I was like seeing two balls. And I already don't like Dylan Frazier in front of me. Now I'm seeing two balls. It's just not, it wasn't good.
Yeah.
And, so I had to, it was scary. It was really scary. And I had to pull out, but it is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've been there before, brother. And for me, it's when I get the like cold tingles on the back of my neck. I know that I'm in a situation that might not be the best. So okay, James, I have a question for you. So if you were playing in conditions like the Texas Open, we talked about we know about the split step heard around the world at the last MLP, and some of your happy feet in the point and how that locks you in mentally. Is there a situation where you're going to have to work on that because the conditions are just so brutal that it obviously takes a little extra out of you physically?
For sure. I mean, I've got two options. Option one is just to get in like unreal shape, just be like Carlos Alcaraz and just be jumping rope. Like, And that's probably my least favorite option. I don't really want to do that. And then there is just trying to move my feet less. And I've been trying to move my feet less in practice the last couple months. And it's just tough. It's like my focus, my ability to focus, like I just go in and out. I start thinking about Starbucks. I'll start thinking about like, what am I doing after this? Anything. And for me, if I move my feet so much, it's like, if you think about it, the more you move your feet, the less you think, right? Like if you move your feet a lot, you don't think. So that's been my philosophy, and it's been helping me. It kind of works, but like I've got to maybe find a way to just stay in the present moment and focus without moving my feet so much. So yeah, to answer your question, I think that's gonna be the way I go about this, I guess. That's my plan.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, maybe pick spots to do it as opposed to doing it constantly. I'm not really sure, but it's like when it's just hard to kind of rewire your brain. It obviously has benefits for you mentally. So, it's like when the power goes out, you still flip the light switch. It's hard to like change your brain, to kind of get out of that. So, but yeah, if it's going to be 92 and humid, you might have to figure
yeah,
something out because
I
that's
know.
pretty rough. So, so we were talking about men's doubles, and I'll tell you what, I think that might be the best I've ever seen Colin play in that final. It was
Yeah.
pretty high level stuff. I said it on the broadcast. It was a dang right side masterclass from Colin, and yeah, good to see him affecting the match as much, if not more, from the right side than his brother on the left.
Colin played really well. I just can't even comprehend. Like for me, it's always been really, everybody's got talents and stuff they're good at and stuff they're not good at. I just don't know how to reset the ball. I just have no, like, it just doesn't occur to me. Naturally, I just don't. Because then I see Colin hitting these resets, and Colin just shocks me as a player. Like, he doesn't touch the ball for like 2 points, 3 points. He'll like not even have hit the ball. And then like somebody will rocket a ball at him, and he's just like, reset. And it's like this high over the net. And I just can't even, I don't know. It's just crazy. The stuff that he does out there is like, you never think anybody would say this about Colin Johns, but it's magical. It's kind of magical stuff he does. I
No,
don't
it
even, I
is.
don't know what to say.
Yeah, he plays his role beautifully. So I mean, he's been playing for 4 or 5 years now, and everything that he has done is to prepare for this role as his brother's partner on the right side. And maybe that's affected some of his mixed play or some of his left side play when he's playing with not his brother. But the bottom line is when he is in that role paired with Ben, it's something special and magical, even as you mentioned.
So let me ask you this. I was talking to Greg Dow about this. Over under on losses for Ben and Colin this year. We set it at 1.5. Are you going to take the over or the under?
I'll take the over, but it's a very reasonable line. Everyone. I mean, we talk about it all the time. Everyone's getting better. There's more parity. Everyone's closer, but they just keep winning. They just keep winning. And even chatting with Colin in the player lounge, he's taking it even more seriously with some of the working out and the weightlifting and plyometric type stuff. So they're not resting on their laurels. They're still drilling. They're still working in the gym. And man, it's just really tough, especially in a 3 out of 5 to beat that team. And yeah, it's just really quality stuff. And someone's going to have to take a step forward if they're going to be able to beat those guys any form of consistently.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't think Colin was in the gym even, but that's impressive that he's taking it that seriously. It doesn't look like he's, pumping the iron, but he's
No.
that's tough, man. I don't know who's gonna beat that team. Maybe Riley and Dylan if they started playing together.
Right. Yeah. Actually, we actually talked about this briefly on a different podcast. Just like what is the pairing? You kind of what is the pairing to beat them? And I think we actually came up, Rob Nunnery and myself, with Dylan and Riley, or of course possibly Jack Sock and Riley. But that would probably be more next year. So also, James, I would say that right now there's probably a big three in terms of those teams with Matt and Riley, the kids, JW and Dylan. What would you say you would need to do with Tyson McGuffin, or actually we've seen Pablo and Federico have some nice runs here. You guys kind of on those teams on the bubble, what would you need to do to step into that mix with those three teams? Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me it's just simple, right? It's just the soft game, dialing it in more, getting more of those high quality men's reps. I think that it's me and Tyson have played well the last couple weekends. It's just we've gotten really close. We've had some issues with like, Tyson had a heat stroke in Atlanta and now I had one in Texas, so it's tough. We both go hard out there, but it's just the soft game for me. I think if I'm dialing in the dinks and just not maybe just being more comfortable with it, having it on autopilot. Because you see Ben and Riley and these guys, it's like they're not even trying. Like they're on autopilot when they're dinking and doing these thirds and fifths. And for me, like I've only been playing for a year and a half, and I've only really been playing like high quality men's games for like maybe 6 months, right? Like I haven't had these high quality touches. So I'm just a little not always making the right decisions, not really sure about like, where the ball is going to come back at a certain point. Like I think it's just the soft game, dialing that in. And Tyson's ready. Tyson's playing well. I think on the right side, Tyson's doing everything that I would need him to do for me to win. It's just coming down to me now. Like I've just got to be better. And I don't see why I wouldn't be. And I think for us too, like the serve and the drive I'm finally hitting my serve hard. And I'm kind of every month I'm adding like new stuff. So yeah, men's though, it takes time. Men's it's real pickleball, it's
Yeah.
weird.
It's
Like mixed.
yeah.
I think I'm like, if I'm not top three, then I want to know who number three is, and we have to compare the stats because from this year, results wise, I'm top three. But
Mhm.
mixed is not real. It's not the same. It's not even, it's real pickleball, but like men's is like, okay, you got to actually be smart. You can't just speed up everything at like Catherine, it's not the same thing. But like, so yeah,
No,
that's a little different. Yeah.
yeah, totally true. Definitely the last one to get fully comfortable with. And I think the statement that you make that they're almost kind of sleepwalking through the soft stuff. Like those top guys, they don't even consider missing the soft stuff. And that is a lot of work that they've done. And so you kind of get that preparation, you get that thing that kind of clicks, and then you don't even really think about the soft stuff. It just happens. And I think it's different for everyone when that actually clicks in. But once it does, it is very freeing and very nice to kind of have that. And maybe it hasn't clicked for you quite yet, James, but if it does, and I think that it will, watch out. That's for sure.
It's gonna, because I'm drilling. I'm drilling more than anybody, Adam. And it's like, why? I don't know. I mean, every time I miss a third, I'm like, what is the deal? I've hit 15 and like 1,000 of these in the last 2 weeks. But anyway,
You can't have it all. You can't have it all, James. You can't have
oh,
it
I'm
all. I
gonna,
mean,
I'm
you
gonna,
got the most power in the game, James. You can't.
I have to. I'm getting it. So, oh, and then you asked me about Pablo
Okay,
and
good
Fed.
stuff.
Pablo and Fed,
Oh yeah, Pablo Fed.
that's a
That's right.
team that could be good too. I mean, Pablo, his dinking is not great, his backhand dink, but his counters are great. His forehand counter, he hits it harder than like, almost he's got the 002 in his hands. He's a complete stud. And Federico's getting good. Federico is obviously he's more attackable in a lot of ways. He doesn't have the hardest counters. This room key, who is knocking on my door? I'm good. I'm good on the housekeeping. I got Adam Stone on the pod. This is a big deal. No, thank you. Not with Adam Stone on the pod. All right.
Yeah, fair. She
Anyways,
knows who I am. She knows
yeah.
who I am.
How can she not? But yeah, so Fed and Pablo are a good team. I mean, Federico's got great soft stuff, great dinking. He's dialed in. And I think those guys are right on the bubble also.
Another question. So we're talking about kind of teams right on the cusp of possibly jumping into that top three. So tell me this. I got a question for you here in my notes. We're going to talk about HTB, Hurricane Tyra Black, and we're going to talk about Vivian Glosman, who you
Yes.
definitely have kind of some inside info on both of those ladies.
Yeah.
Where would you say that they kind of rank right now in the women's game, and where possibly could they rank at year's end, would you say?
Great question. So Tyra, in my opinion, in doubles, she could be in women's doubles at the end of this year. I think she could be top 5. I don't see why not, because I am playing with her a lot. She plays all the time. She's obsessed with pickleball. She's got really fast hands. She might have the fastest hands in the women's game just in terms of natural ability. But she, recognizing the patterns and understanding that stuff, that takes some time. But I don't see why she wouldn't be top 5. She just needs to learn how to speed up the ball because she can't. She's like a female JW, right? She just
Okay.
holds her ground. And in men's, right, like JW is a stud, but in women's, you got to be able to initiate. And she's figuring that out. We'll see. Singles, I don't think so. Her ground strokes are not great. Her forehand is not great, but it's not like she's going to be bad at singles. Like, she's good, but is she going to ever beat Anna Lee in singles? I doubt it, right? But I think in women's, she could be top 5 right now. Maybe, I mean, you got to say she's top 15 in women's, I would say. In mixed, that takes time, as we know. It's just the dinking. Her forehand dink is it's worse than mine, and that's a problem. And but her backhand dink is pretty solid. On the left, she's solid, and she's great on defense. She's got great power, and she competes really well. She fights hard. She's really locked in the moment. And I think Vivian could be, by year end, she could be right on that cusp also of top 5 in women's. I think just the power. I think if Vivian and Tyra aren't better at women's than a player like Catherine, within maybe 8 months or so, I would be pretty surprised. Just because women's, it's so carnal. It's just power, hand speed. That's everything, right? And I don't think they're going to be. I think they're going to be better than Catherine, or somebody like that. I mean, Anna Lee, maybe not, but that's my opinion there. I mean, Vivian is also, if you've ever met her, she's hilarious. I had her on my podcast. She's like, you got to meet her. I'll just say that. She's the most different person I've ever met in my life. And it's
That
funny.
means a lot coming from you, James.
That's true. It takes one to know one. And she's got like, so she's using this really soft paddle from this company, like, who knows whatever it is. We don't need to talk about any other paddle companies on here, but it's really soft. And she took a full swing with a backhand and she hit me right in the chest. I just wasn't even ready for it. And it was wreck. I wasn't expecting it, but she can clock the ball. So both of them, the power is a joke. I think they're in the conversation to go in the Premier League next season. I mean, it takes some time, like the mixed, and we'll see, but like it's an upside pick. And
right.
that's
so if you were a GM and the draft is in a few weeks, maybe around a month away, would you say that both of these ladies are in the premier level, meaning the top 24 women for Major League Pickleball?
I think it's, I mean, I think they're in the conversation. I think Hurricane probably I would, just because I know how much she's playing and I know how much she's obsessed with it. And Vivian, maybe, but it's like, you've got to give Susanna Barr credit. There's a lot of players on that cusp right now, like, that I think should be in there. Like you can't take them over a Lacey Schneeman. There's just a lot of players right now that are right around that. I mean, women's is getting more competitive. It's great to see. So, yeah, that's a good question. What do you think?
No, that's, I mean, just, just kind of just talking about a couple names that pop into my head that could make the leap, So, and I think that, some of the most important thing that you said about Hurricane is how obsessed she is. That's a big factor. So you got to have the talent, you got to have the, the skill and the physical attributes, but being obsessed is a big one as well. So that makes me, feel good about her game. And just a little snippet of Glosman that I saw, she looked pretty comfortable and pretty smooth for being so early in her playing days. So I was pretty impressed by that as well. So they're definitely on my, short list of players that could make a big leap.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think it's going to be good that they're both in Challenger. They're getting those reps. Like they're jumping in, playing every tournament they can. It's like, it's not often that these players with a ton of talent, ton of power are just like locked in. Every tournament, I want to play it. They're both asking me to drill in Cali today. It's like that, like it's just it's great to see. You know, it reminds me of a young me a year ago, just that obsessed. You know, anybody please play rec with me, right?
You're still obsessed. You know you are. You still are.
I am. But my Zoom says that we have 30 seconds left of recording. So I'm gonna do an outro and
Okay.
we're gonna see how long this was. And if it wasn't long enough, then we'll talk about MLP and see if Selkirk can. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for coming on. Best commentator in the game, Adam Stone, legend of pickleball, and thank you. So see ya.